Welcome to the Buy Box Experts podcast. We bring to light the unique opportunities brands face in today's e-commerce world.
Hello, this is Eric Stopper, and welcome to the Buy Box Experts podcast, where I interview top entrepreneurs in the consumer product space. This episode is brought to you by Buy Box Experts. Buy Box Experts takes ambitious brands and makes them unbeatable. We've got a team of consultants. I am one of those consultants. We want to look at your ASINs on Amazon. We want to dive deep and figure out why the best ones are doing well and why the worst ones are doing the worst. So come and call us. Go to buyboxexperts.com, click on the free analysis button, and it's completely free, no strings attached. Come and talk to us. We'd love to have you. Today, I am joined by Lance Drollinger, Vice President of Sales for Blacksmith International, a well-respected design, development, and manufacturing company based here in Utah. They focus on consumer products. If you want something built, bring it to them. Ideally, bring a prototype. Make sure that you've thought through some of those details. I've worked with Lance and his team, and I have nothing but good things to say. Developing a product is an enormous amount of work, and Lance and his team at Blacksmith helped me understand the process and implications of how I wanted to manufacture my products. Lance is a proud husband, a father, an avid cycler, and an expert in consumer product development and manufacturing. Lance, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Happy to be here.
So I have two major topics that I want to hit on.
Okay.
Number one, when creating products, right? Like I've run the gambit a couple times. I got some brands of my own, but I want to know some of the keys to success. And then two, this has been a hot topic for people when it comes to Amazon, is I want to know about international trade, tariffs. I want to pick your brain. I want to understand, because I was talking to a guy, probably 2 weeks ago, and his cost of steel went up on these lanterns that he was selling.
Yep.
Like 25%, like boom, just his margin was gone.
Yep.
And I was on a call with him, and it was just depressing. And I didn't know what to tell the guy. I was like, look, you've got some people steering the wheel that are not steering it in the direction that's beneficial for you. So I want to dig into that and get
no problem.
Yeah, get some feedback from you. So the vast majority of our listeners, they own and operate product-based businesses. So they're more than likely acquainted with this process of developing products. But can you help me understand what you spend your days doing, how you help brands?
Oh, man, what we spend our day doing, and I think you touched upon it in our intro, is just being really thorough, right? And making sure that the idea that you have in your head is executable. And that comes down to having it down on paper. We call these things tech packs, if you've heard the term tech packs, and a lot of the people, if they've been in products they have, and a thorough, well put together tech pack is crucial. It's absolutely crucial, because you'll spend days, months, and years going back and forth. Oh, it's kind of there, but I need this. Oh, what's that? But I need this too. And then, oh yeah, that thing I said 5 times ago, I still need that, but now I need it this way, right? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Back and forth for years. What kind of thing takes a year to develop a tech pack for?
Well, that's the thing. Without a tech pack, it will go for years.
Oh,
but
I see.
You get a tech, right? If you get a tech pack and you're very thorough on what you need and what your deliverables are, then you're going to be successful and a lot quicker with your product development.
So I'm a random kid, right? I've got an invention. Maybe I'm 60, right? And I've got an invention and I want to bring it to market. What do I bring to you? Right? I don't have a tech pack. I don't know how to build a tech pack. What do I bring?
Well, hopefully you're trying to iterate some and make a prototype of your own, and that's happened. I have people that have just made the wildest stuff and come up with amazing little prototypes that just blow my mind, and they work, kind of, and at least helps us, right? And then what I need to know is just really what you're looking to accomplish, right? And so we'll review those things and find what your end goal is, and then we work backwards from that. And then once we get all that and we understand everything, we're gonna bring in a specialist, either an industrial designer, or if we need engineers, we'll get those too. And we'll look through that and make sure that we take everything that you say, take your prototype, and we'll get it into a blueprint or a tech pack, right, of how we're going to develop this thing and what exactly we're looking to accomplish, so that we meet those expectations out of the gate.
So in terms of when I should come to you, yeah, I just have to have a prototype in hand, or I at least have to have just an end goal of what I want to accomplish. What's an example of a goal that someone's trying to accomplish when they come to you?
A product that they can sell, right? A product that they know is something that will resonate with a market, and something that they can sell. So honestly, I've had people come to me with just ideas. I've had people come to me like this morning. I'm talking to a group that we're making socks for the NHL, like really crazy stuff, right? So we span the spectrum in that area.
Interesting. So, I mean, does the typical client come to you with delusions of grandeur about how great their product is going to be, or do a lot of them have some pretty, feasible designs that they're bringing to the market? Like, tell me about some of the ones that maybe weren't so great.
Oh my gosh. The one is notorious for us right now. And I don't even want to say it. It feels so bad for these people, but I had some guys come in here and they were all in their suits, right? And they were really ready for this thing. And they wanted to make this accessory. And they were called finger sleeves. And they were little pieces of fabric that you would put on like earring or like rings, but they covered more of your finger. And it was going to be a fashion accessory. And it was 3 dudes that came up with finger sleeves.
Interesting.
And they were convinced this was going to be this huge market, and I mean, it was hilarious. But then we've had people come in with some really life-changing, technologies that are just, they're going to alter the way people age, you know what I mean? And they're going to help them with their aging and keeping them upright and these different things. So there's crazy stuff. But yeah, we'll get people that come in here and they have the next greatest thing and it's going to be the biggest thing ever. And, they can't market it. They can't sell it. And it might be something that's great, but if you can't sell it too, there's no point in making it.
Do you walk away from those people?
Yeah, we try to lay people down as gently as possible.
Sure.
You know what I mean? The ones that hurt the worst are the ones that actually have a really good idea, but just can't fund it. You know what I mean? Those ones hurt the worst.
Poor inventors. What do you tell those people? They're listening right now.
Man, I tell them to find somebody that can get behind your idea that has money. You know what I mean? And it's got to be, try to stay away from family just in case it goes south, because probably will. It's hard to get products off the ground, right? It's not that easy. But find somebody that understands it. If it's for like a niche, like if it's a drone piece or whatever, find people that are wild about drones and they have money, right? Or if it's a skateboard something, find a really good skater that has a following, that has money, that wants to invest. Find those people and bring them in and give them equity and get them on your team.
And so the people that come to you, are they typically well funded and there's going to be a big clip that they're willing to pay you? Or are you working with, a lot of these poor inventors that really need hand-holding through the whole process?
Just, again, we span the spectrum. We'll have people that just don't have the money. A lot of these examples I've given you are just people that have come through my door and I've dealt with. I've dealt with a really awesome product that, he spent a couple grand getting right and it's perfect and can't go anywhere with it, to people that are funded so much and have plenty of money and still haven't just been able to move their product yet. Do
y'all invent your own products in-house as a team?
We haven't. We really haven't. I want to. I want to do my own products, but it's a lot of work to make products. And this is a full-time job. I mean, this is a 24/7 job. When people are sleeping, when our clients are sleeping, we're up. We're up till midnight, 2 a.m, making sure our team is getting stuff done that we need done overseas.
And that's because a part of the team is in China and probably Malaysia, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, these heavy manufacturing companies.
Yeah, so we have a staff of about 15 in China alone. We've got a couple in Bangladesh and we've got a couple in Indonesia, and those things are going well.
So I'm working on a brand of phone cases right now that have this cool lenticular effect to them. And I found somebody on Alibaba who can manufacture these products. Mm-hmm. And she has this girl that I'm talking with. She's from China, and she has lied to me 17 times. I have a tally of how many times this woman has lied to me. But I can't really go anywhere else. She's got this machine
that does it.
And I can't really, and I've gone through so much with her. I was told to never make a future decision off of sunk costs, and I feel like a lot of the interface that I've had with her have been very much sunk costs. So like, what's your advice to someone like me? Where do I go from here? How do I keep from getting absolutely just decimated by them ripping off my products or otherwise?
So there's a couple things. The very first thing I'd say on a more optimistic point of view is I don't know if she's trying to lie to you. I think she might misunderstand you some ways and say things and think she read something and answer it a different way. And that's probably happening more than her lying. Could she be lying? Sure. But what she's trying not to do is be wrong or let you down. That's her biggest worry. In China, they just don't want to let you down. They're very loyal people to a fault. Really great Netflix documentary for everybody real quick. Just put in a plug. Go look at The Factory on Netflix and then watch specifically when they're in China, when they do their end of the year party, and see how loyal these people are. It's pretty crazy. Right?
Yeah, there's like a big gift giving aspect to the culture as well, right?
Look at the song. In the song's about being loyal to the company, like in a preachy, like ceremonious, like way. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of how they think. Anyway, they're extremely loyal, and so they just don't want to let you down. And in that cases, they're trying to lie or they lie not purposely.
Yeah. What does letting me down look like? Is that they can't do what I'm asking them to do?
Yeah, they can't make it and they feel bad.
I'm about 99% certain that she's representing a trade company.
Yes.
Can you tell me, and the people listening, just give me the rundown on trade companies in general?
Yeah, so a trade company, right? They're not gonna have. So they're just gonna be working with a bunch of factories and represent like what they can do, and they say, oh yeah, I can make that. I had some guy making like a trampoline hose, and we didn't actually even make his product. He went and found it, and we went and did a QC, and he was working with an agent. Well, the factory wasn't gonna let the agent use their facilities beyond making an order, and when we got there to do the check, the difference between a factory and an agent was it was in a storage shed, and it was in the garage, and we went through 10,000 pieces, and it was crazy. So anyway, long story short, that's what happens, right? And that's kind of the scary side. It will happen. You'll find factory owners. When we work with factories, we only work with the Laoban in China, for example, the owners. All of our documentation, all of our contracts, everything's done with signatures, with those with authority to have signatures. And we never claim to be something that we're not, right? But when you get these agents who are claiming to be that, I remember very vividly 3 years ago, we did an audit for a man who had been working with a factory making his sunglasses for 5 years and had been out there himself 8 times. We were there within 10 minutes. We told him it was an agent, and he flat out did not believe us. And then it wasn't until we showed some other things that he couldn't believe it, because every time he went, they took him to the factory as if they were there.
Right.
And they made it look like it was their factory.
And the factory just played along? What was their role in this whole thing?
It was Chinese. He didn't speak Chinese. They probably said, we're not a factory. They could have said it right to his face, and he didn't know. They didn't speak English.
Are you, is your team at an advantage because you have so many Mandarin speakers?
We're at an advantage because we have an organization within the country of origin where we can do things legally and correctly. So we're going to get into tariffs. I think we're going to talk about the number 2 thing you wanted to talk about. But a lot of this tariff stems from China, right, stealing IP. Now, yes, that happens. And it happens, by the way, a lot more in America than we want to admit too. We do it too. People in America are stealing people's product ideas all the time, and they're showing up on Amazon, right? See it all the time, okay? You can get IP protection in China. They just don't recognize our IP law in America. Now that's all changed starting January 1st. That's changed, and we could have a whole nother podcast on that later. But they always had an IP process. They did. And we have we have Sophie, she's a retainer over there. She's phenomenal. We would call her up and we'd go through that process. And really it's like $400 American, right? It's not like an extreme amount of money like it is over here that it is there. I mean, it's a lot.
To get a real enforceable piece of intellectual property
Yeah.
in China, 400 US dollars.
Yeah, that was our last one, was about 400.
How many people actually do it?
Nobody knows about it. Nobody knows how to do it. They just feel like, oh, I did my patent in America, I'm done. They don't realize that, that's American law and governed by American enforcement.
If you were going to start selling a product today, would you focus on getting that IP before you even list your products, or is that something that you can do as you go along?
The most amazing thing I've ever heard from an IP attorney himself was just getting IP doesn't make you money. So if it was a crucial step, a crucial piece of me making money to get IP, absolutely. But if it wasn't, if it was just, first out of the gate and does it the best, then I wouldn't worry about it.
So for people who are listening who sell on Amazon specifically, are currently getting ripped off by Chinese resellers, which, who knows, maybe their parent company is an American company that's just stealing IP from them and getting the manufacturing done in China. What do you tell them, right? Like, they're currently getting ripped off. They go and get the IP, or is it already too late?
It's already too late at that point. If you have something that you work real hard to get IP for, before you start selling it, you need IP in those other countries, specifically China, any other origin countries that could make it.
Interesting. I'm trying to imagine these product-based inventors, these entrepreneurs coming to you and imagining what they look like. They probably look like you and me, but have you noticed any like significant indicators of success across the group of people that you work with? Like, someone walks in the door, how do you know that they're like best client, best products?
So I had a gal come in here just the other look at me, I'm old. A girl, I don't know, come in the other day, just last week. She's got 2.5 million followers. Okay.
Jeez.
And she's an actress. She's doing something starting February. And anyway, I got to keep a lot of stuff close. But anyway, actress level could do a lot, right? And long story short, when I knew that I was working with somebody I could work with, her brother in this case, who's business partners helping her with this, he said, I think of the 10th. I call it the 10th, the 10th. And he said, she's got 25. If we could do 0.1%, then I know we have something. And I thought, wow, that was really good, because he wasn't like, oh, we'll go get 10% of her following that are going to buy this product. He was realistic. He knows what it takes to sell a product, and he had that in mind, and he knew how much work it was going to take to get there. On the other end of the spectrum, I had somebody come in here. They're doing this bag. I'll just say it that way. And the guy's like, well, I think there's like 90 million Americans. If we take 10% of that market, that's 9 million. And my response to him was, do you know who Disney is? And he said, yeah, Disney. I said, do you know Disney Plus? And he said, yeah. I said, this is a streaming service that they were marketing, really put millions of dollars into marketing, was pushing really, really, really hard. Do you know what they started with out of the gate? It was 10 million subscribers in the world. Right? That's 0.1%. Does that make sense?
Of course.
So when people come to me and they're telling me they're going to capture a big chunk of the market and they don't even know what goes into it, then I know that I'm not talking with somebody that has business sense.
So it's just coming in with realistic expectations?
Yes, it's really being realistic.
How do you encourage people to create some indicator of a realistic total addressable market for their first year selling?
I'm extremely honest with them. And I never, ever give them any glimpse of hope of this thing going really fast and going really well.
Do you do any of that market research for them to help them understand how many they could sell?
No, I don't. That's a whole nother job. You know what I mean? We could create we really could. We have enough people that come in that would probably pay for it. But it's just not what we do. But when I tell somebody what I always start with, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you're looking or want to hear. And really plainly tell them, because I've been around these product companies for so long and I've seen how much work goes into it and those that are successful and why, I'll talk to them. And then people that I have a couple guys that have come in and they've got big backgrounds, Fortune 500 company, know how to push money, know how to push product, really talented guys. And they wanted a spring launch with this product that they were trying to make a change to. And I told them, you may have your first sample in like the end of spring. You're not even close to where you want to be. You know what I mean? And woke them up because they had been talking to a lot of companies just like ours. And they were all telling what they wanted to hear. And I said, I guarantee you, if you go with that, I can tell you where you are today, and I can tell you where you're going to be in 6 months, and it's not going to be where you want to be. It's going to take some time, especially if you're trying to make this kind of a change, and you're going to get one shot at this, and you're going to put in this kind of money. You really need to think through that.
Where are people getting these delusional timelines from?
I don't know. I wish I did. I checked those sources. I just think
it takes twice as long and twice as much money, right? Is what I always hear.
Yes.
Why are everyone's expectations half of what they should be, I wonder?
Well, I think they can talk to other people that have been making a product, and they're like, oh, it only takes you 60 days to get that product made. That's amazing. You know what I mean? But they don't ever tell them the nightmare part of the story. You know what I mean? They don't tell them the part that and everything that went into making that product. They don't talk about that. And so sometimes they just hear, okay, 60 days, that's great. But they don't understand to get it right how long that takes.
What's the quickest y'all have ever rolled out a product from first meeting with you or a member of the team till first order?
Probably there was one 2 years ago. It was a sock that they needed it. It was actually for a Coachella festival.
Oh, cool.
And I had those done in 29 days.
Whoa.
That was crazy. That was fast. But we've had some people that are like in the 2 to 3 months, but typically it's like 6 to 9 months process to get.
So hold on a second though. 29 days landed?
No, 29 days to be made, and then they ship them. Yeah.
Okay.
I made it 29 days. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I want to go back to something that we were talking about previously. These trade companies.
Yeah.
Obviously, right, in the scenario even that you laid out, it's going to be better if you are speaking directly with the manufacturer. Mm-hmm. Less telephones to go through, less opportunities for the design to get lost or messed up. Mm-hmm. And you can, disagree with me if I'm wrong about that. But I was talking with Trevor George at Blue Whale Media on a previous episode. He came on the show. And he made this assertion that brands who have the highest competitive advantage are, in e-commerce especially, are the ones who own their manufacturing, because it makes it so that they can competitively price, right? Like anybody can list onto Amazon, Instagram, Google, anybody can create a Shopify site. And so does this mean that this like giant private labeling importing business that has like made all these kid millionaires is going to become obsolete? What do you think?
So no, for a couple of reasons. So Blacksmith International, we're more of a professional supply chain management company than we are just sourcing stuff for people, right? Mm-hmm. We manage the supply chain. If you don't have me, then you have to hire people, and your margins on your product ultimately are going to be the same, right? So you have to think through that a little bit. There's people that don't have a clue and don't know how to navigate, and they're not organized enough. I know people that probably could manage stuff, but they're just not organized enough, don't stay on top of stuff. We ask them for things, and it takes 3 weeks when I say, get that to me tomorrow. You know what I mean? And then I ask again, hey, I asked you for that 4 days ago, still not done. You know what I mean? There's just certain things that people are incapable of doing, so they need help. It's the same reason why people outsource any kind of service, from payroll to you name it, right? Is they can either bring the people in-house, pay taxes on those people, hope that they grow them to be really great, hope that they never leave and take those resources somewhere else, right? Like there's a lot to that. So I don't think it will go away. I agree with him that if you have control over your pricing as much as possible, you can do that. But where you can still make your margins and have somebody working and helping run your supply chain and making sure your stuff is correct before it ever leaves a boat. We have a client that we do daily checks of their stuff. We get daily reports back from our facility, and we do several checks, and it's the highest quality it could be. We've grown the lines from like 4 people to 4 lines, and it's crazy, right? And so it just takes a lot of management to have that success at the end of the day. And either you're going to hire that in-house and train it and grow it and hope it never leaves, or you can find a resource like us. Or if you're looking to just do something quickly, and you're finding these agents, that stuff's just not going to go away. There's people that want quick and dirty, and they just want to slap a logo on it, and that's going to go, and that's going to be an agent. It's not going to be a factory. So It's not going to go away. But yeah, I think
the more sophisticated people are likely going to prevail. The ones that can get close to the manufacturer, the ones that take the time to design quality products, the ones that actually, give a crap about the design process.
Yes.
Huh.
And the management of supply chain, really. Managing a supply chain is a full-time job. That's why I have a job.
Right. What's the hardest piece of it? What's the 80%, right, that has to happen in order for the 20% to work?
Comfort.
Comfort
is the hardest piece.
As
soon as you feel like you're comfortable with your supplier, that's when product fade happens or something goes awry. They miss a little click. They miss a piece that time, whatever it is. Like you have to be on top of every detail. If your
product fade?
Product fade. So product fade is very interesting. It can be made well the first time, maybe the second, but then tooling can get dirty or they get complacent and they know, hey, they're not checking. So now I'm going to change the weight of the fabric from a 320 to a 300. And I slightly start changing that fabric and I keep inching it until I get caught. Now I'm at a 280 grams instead of a 320. And now all of a sudden it's a way different feel. It feels cheap all of a sudden. You know what I mean? And these things start happening. And this is how factories will start making money. In some cases, you're not weighing stuff. You're not cutting a little circle and put it on a gram meter and making sure it's 320. You're not checking the tolerances of weights of fabrics. You're not doing that, right? And if you're not doing those things, that's where product fade creeps in. So that's why I say, and you're surprised, your eyes went real big, right? Comfort? What? You're supposed to be comfortable, right? As soon as you get comfortable, that's when things start happening.
So how long does it typically take for product fade to make a significant impact where there's a noticeable difference in the products?
As early as a year.
A year. I sign up with a manufacturer. They're manufacturing my products. The first round looks great. The second round looks great. I'm shipping to distributors all over now. Like it just hits my warehouse, goes straight to Amazon, goes, to a 3PL. Mm-hmm. Inside of a year.
Mm-hmm. And
you're going to start having crappier products.
A couple things happen. Management can change over, right? Very easy.
Sure.
Workers too, right? High turnover after Chinese New Year in China, especially, right? Lots of things can happen. And it could just be a fabric. It could be the fabric mill. It could be that the factory themselves, it could be the second or first level tier all the way deep, right? You can keep going down. You might be at the first level, but they're still getting their stuff from the second, third, and fourth levels. And it could creep all the way down into those. So you have to it can happen as early as a year. It can really even happen as early as 6 months, but a year typically.
So what do? You cut little circles in one out of every 1,000 of your products?
No, we test fabric every time fabric's made, every single time. And typically the way fabric's made, if you have that knowledge, you're not gonna see a deviation from a roll. So those kind of things we can test for. But it's also just making sure and improving upon the product and making sure that they're not making any changes.
Do you guys do one-time audits? If somebody thinks that there's a problem with their manufacturing, do you guys just swoop in and save the day?
So, man, I wish it were that easy. I wish we could swoop in and save the day. I've had so many people come to me and have that expectation. And it looks negative upon me because I have no recourse. When I'm running a product, I get a contract signed with the owner of the factory. But if I'm just some Joe Smo off the street that walks in and says, hey, these guys have been doing business with you. Will you talk to me better than you're talking to them? We got to have realistic expectations. You know what I mean? Even if they are Chinese, they are my, and Candy, my manager over there, she's a bulldog, man. She's not going to let anything go. But the reality is we go do audits and we've done it. But it doesn't change the outcome. Whatever's happened has happened. What I do is I give you data and you get to derive what you want to do from that. I can't go in and just say,
fix everything.
The product's fixed. It's usually made by the time somebody comes to me at that time. I've audited factories. I don't make money doing it. I've done it for people that need help, because I charge basically enough to cover my fee. I don't think somebody's going to pay me enough to make a living on to do audit. And there are companies out there that do quality checks. And they built businesses on just doing quality control checking. And there's something to that too, but to what extent? When you don't have the original samples and you don't have all the detail on exactly what we should be checking for, it's complicated. But like I gave on that host scenario, it was very beneficial for that person, for me to show up, do some compression tests on some things, because he had a couple blow up in his face and he was like, wait, and they said one thing, they said, oh, that's because we had a couple and we just didn't know which ones we pulled, and the story didn't make sense, right? So we were able to get in there and do some testing and make sure it was good before they left, and that kind of stuff but the outcome was the same. If it would have been all really bad stuff, it would have been bad. I wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. But I was able to say, hey, yeah, it's good enough to put it on a boat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So question for you, maybe coming from a really selfish standpoint, but on the brand that I'm launching, right? Like I can buy one of the machines that they use for $5,000.
Well,
right. I guess at what point do I decide, hey, I'm actually going to start manufacturing these bad boys? Do I, just make $5,000 and just go ahead and do it? Should I do it from the onset and just control my manufacturing at the very beginning? What do you think?
So it's going to come to your ability to sell the product. Right? I think that's where it is. If you have something and it's starting to sell and you can that's really relatively inexpensive. I don't know the labor it's going to be behind that to make those products, right? I don't know what it's going to take, or if that's just something you can do in your pajamas at night while you're holding the baby, doing your thing. I don't know. But, it really depends. I actually had the reverse question asked of me just last Thursday. This guy makes his own. They're kind of like snowshoe boards, really cool. And he makes them right here in Salt Lake. But he's like, if I'm going to scale, I can't do this. And the money's way better if I go to China, but I'm just not getting the quality. I'm like, bro, you're going to have to go there in person because you have a process and they have to understand it. But for you to answer your question, I think if you have something that's selling and the margins are there, if you were to manufacture it over here, I think you do it right away. Personally. All
right, man. Okay, I got some thinking to do. That actually is a pretty good segue about going to China. I want to go to the Canton Fair this upcoming year. I've heard that that's a blast. But many people who are manufacturing products, and I think just general American sentiment, is that made in the USA, right, is this indicator of product quality.
Yeah.
And that if I import something from China, that it's not going to be as good. And you've expressed to me your feelings at saying that the country of origin shouldn't be viewed as an indicator of product quality. Can you talk to me a little bit more about this?
Yeah, the iPhone's made in China, right? And that's quality at the highest standard. They don't mince anything. What it comes down to is going back to that product fade conversation. Mm-hmm. When people choose to use 280 gram weight of fabric versus a 320 because it's going to save them a few pennies. You know what I mean? It's going to, in most cases, might save them a whole dollar, right? It's the choices that we make that end up reflecting upon quality. So you can have, and actually some of the best sewing in this entire world, and I'm telling you, there's products that I cannot make in this country at all, that are made overseas. And a lot of the best sewing in the world is outside of our borders because that skill set left a long time ago, right? And we're currently trying to bring that back here. We actually have facilities running and we're making like 12,000 units a month right now. It's pretty amazing, those type of things. But it's a very interesting conversation that oh, it's China product, it's crap, right? Oh, those cheap China products, right?
Yeah,
and it goes from auto parts to you name it. And it's not so much because of the country that it was made in that makes it crap. It's because of the decisions of the people asking them to make that were crap. Does that make sense? And
it does.
Not having that knowledge and letting those things slide, like I said, with product fade, right? Those things can happen. And that can happen in any country, and it definitely happens here in America too. So it's the care and the thought that goes into it that will make a product.
Interesting. So there's stuff that's manufactured here that's just junk. Now, this is kind of an overarching philosophical discussion. I'm of the impression this is a global economy, right? Like
yes.
my brother in the Chinese factory, the Hong Kong factory. Right. He's just as much my human brother as anybody else here in Utah or anywhere in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, is this an us versus them kind of thing? And this is, leading us into this tariff discussion. Is it imperative that we bring these specialty manufacturing processes back into the homeland, or are we just looking at this whole situation the wrong way?
In my opinion, is very biased, but we are looking at it in the wrong way. You want world peace. We all want world peace. The best way to make world peace is create jobs. And I remember we took a client over, I guess it's been a year and almost 2 years now. We went over and, what was mind blowing to them was these ladies that were making their stuff were moms, and they had mouths to feed.
Right.
And she's like, they're moms, just like moms over here. Why are our moms any better than their moms or whatever, And it was kind of eye-opening for her that all of a sudden her guilt of manufacturing overseas went away. She had guilt. As much as she didn't want to admit she had guilt, that guilt went away because she saw the real person making that product. It's not us versus them, and we will lose if that's the attitude that we will have. We are not self-sufficient enough. China had this issue with the opium war, but this thing goes on for decades, for centuries. We've been battling the same battle for centuries. And every time somebody tries to go on their own, i.e. Rome, whatever, you name it, right? It usually falls. So if at a world we come together and we create peace through jobs, we have a village in northern India that the only way they make money is by hand looming with hand looms, because that's what they could afford, cotton. And we are lucky enough that we have a client that can use some of that cotton, and they can't produce tons fast. They can't produce enough to be making tens of thousands of dresses, right?
Mm-hmm.
This village could not eat if we're not buying their fabric. And we're not giving them a handout. They don't want a handout. They want a job.
Right.
And that's not hurting anyone over here. By the way, that fabric contributes to about 25 jobs for this company here stateside. So it's a world, and we work together.
Right. And I feel like we lose a lot of that. The metric that we should be tracking as a world is just total jobs, right? Total employment rate, as opposed to my employment rate compared to China's employment rate. I think that's beautiful. Now, in terms of free trade, lots to say about this, and anybody that's keeping up with the news, please keep up with the news and actually vote and write letters to your Congress people. Like, make sure that you're weighing in on this in an intelligent and informed way. I can't tell you how to think, but I want to know, has Blacksmith International been negatively affected by the tariffs?
So luckily, a lot of the tariffs have been kind of on the business side of things, like people getting raw goods, steel and stuff. You talked about an example of steel, right, hurting people, and it hasn't affected consumer goods at all, but not that much, I should say. But yes, we have been affected by it, and yes, all consumer companies are being affected by it.
What should these brands do? Yeah, I talk to hundreds of these guys a month, and like my homie who can't afford to buy this core product, that guy was just making so much money on this, just before the tariffs, and he saw the news and was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm doomed." Yeah. What do you tell a guy like that?
I wish I had the answer, because I need to tell myself that. It's been hard to sleep some nights, It's a sad thing that we have people being used as pawns in a scheme that I don't know if at the end of the day anything will really, really change. I mean, some things will change, but things that we're fighting for, like I said earlier, were kind of already in place if you just did them right. And a lot of things that we can control as a country before we ask somebody else to control. But what I would say is to keep looking, and keep doing your best at lowering your costs as much as possible. So you pay less of the tariff on it, and just keep looking for outside resources. The problem is, what has happened is this exodus from China has choked every other country. Everybody's like, they still want to talk to you because that was the mode that they were in. But the reality is their capacity is just shot. They're full, and they know it. You know what I mean? And so it's been a challenge, and it goes both ways. And you'll read this constantly throughout. I mean, I just read an article this morning about a company that started in 18, whatever it was, a shoe company, right? I forget what it was, 18 something. And they're like, if this one hits on December 5th, we're done. We're fine. That's finally it. We've weathered all these things, but if this Trump thing happens, we're done. There's nothing else we can do.
And it happened.
Well, December 15th is the one that he's worried about. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the
As
one.
of this recording, that company is still in business.
Yeah.
With 4 days to spare.
Yeah. So we'll see. There's supposed to be this midnight hour thing, and they'll push it off again, and then it will just keep being pushed, but it's pretty bad.
Okay. Maybe even a harder question.
Can we say one thing, though?
Yeah, please.
I just want to clarify. Who's paying the tariffs?
The consumer. The end consumer, right?
It's not China. So anytime you hear China's paying those tariffs, they're not paying a dime. That money is collected from the person importing the stuff as soon as it crosses the border. Just FYI.
So it's just straight up penalizing American businesses for importing products.
I was talking to a guy that his normal import tariff, because there was tariffs on everything.
Sure.
Some things that were duty free, but there's tariffs on anything. His normal tariff was about $500,000 annually. It's now $2.5 million.
Is that the shoe company guy?
No, different company. No, I didn't know that guy. I just read
Sounds
that.
doomed.
Yeah.
Now, look, I'm a big proponent of free trade. I personally think that tariffs are just a big chest beating exercise that leads to protectionism, right? This idea that I'm going to hold all my country and keep everybody together, and it's kind of this, us versus them mentality. I think China's kicking our butt on a lot of fronts, right? They've got this huge economic force. Their middle class is bigger than our entire economy here.
Yeah.
First question, it might even be the wrong question, but the future of trade in the United States. Weigh in on this, right? What does it look like? Are we completely independent from other companies? We maintain this protectionism? Or do you think that these tariffs are going to go away? What do you think?
So I agree with you that our butts are getting kicked, okay? And it's because of the lack of us putting in the effort. And now what we're doing is like, so we're throwing up this whole war to say, you can't go be better than us at something. You can't go be better than us. Like, we don't want you to get into AI better than us or 5G better than us. And that was the big eye-opening moment. That's what this trade war really is about this country is about to do laps around us, and we're scared. And that's our fault. We should be working hard, and we should be improving and doing things, and that's on us. And so that's kind of what that's coming to. That's personal opinion, by the way. I don't know if that's not gospel. How the future of trade will work is trade will be there. Cooler heads are going to prevail. It creates too many jobs. There's billions of jobs hanging in balance right now because of this. It can't all be made here. It's going to help shift things. Now maybe we'll be getting more imports from other parts of the world, but also, stuff here. Like, we're currently embarking in ways to make it more efficient on this side of the pond, so you can do more here and bringing clothing back, right? I mean, we're supporting one brand like fully right now, and that's neat. And those things are cool. What's really neat for us is because we have these advantages internationally, we can take advantage of those things too with the local stuff. And that blend that you're talking about, Eric, is what's going to be. And if we can get the wrong people out of our way, then we can really have a blended, really cool world where we could do some amazing, incredible things, and everybody wins.
We got to be looking out for each other, though. Chinese or American, Cambodian or European, whatever it is, we got to look out for each other.
I agree. We all have mouths to feed, looking up to us, and we're all trying to do the greater good. There's a few percentages in the world that are doing bad, and they get most of the publicity, and unfortunately that makes a blanket statement for the rest of the people in their category, which is just not fair. And that's across the board in anything. You know what I mean? There's bad policemen, and there's my brother-in-law is probably the best one on the planet. I'm a little biased. You know what I mean? And he's got to walk around and look over his shoulder just because somebody might be mad with police officers in general, but he's never done anything wrong.
Right.
The guy he let off on freaking, I hope this doesn't get him in trouble. He shouldn't let that guy off on Thanksgiving. That guy should have been impounded. But he's a good dude. And it's the same thing. There's bad manufacturers out there. There are people trying to knock people off on Amazon. I get people walk through the door all the time and say, hey, I got this great idea of this product. And I'm like, guess what?
It exists.
I make that product for somebody else. I can't do that for you. And you're not the originator of that idea. Stop fooling yourself.
And I forgot to ask this earlier, but what is a really good question that people who are looking to a manufacturer trying to vet them, what's a good question to determine if they're going to be a good partner for them manufacturing their products?
Ask them a question that you know the answer should be no. Can you get this to me in 30 days, right? Something like that. Ask them a question that you know the answer should be no. And then you'll know if they're being real with you or not.
Huh. Okay.
Check them on that. It's a heat check, right? Because you want to work with somebody that's going to give you the right answers.
Honesty, yeah. And for those who are listening, right, like we want to better the world, and the way that we're going to do that, right, we're all consumer product junkies, we're all marketing nerds.
Yeah.
What do you tell the listeners who are concerned about the way that the world and trade works? What do we do, our little part, to improve the world and make it a better place for everybody, all moms? You know what I mean?
Man, that's a loaded question. Be understanding. Be understanding why somebody will have to do something that they do. I think I come across too many people that have their own agenda and they don't understand. Like as simple as sharing a basketball gym with somebody, right? Like they have their own agenda. They're not going to see beyond why they need that spot every day for the next 6 months, and they can't share a half hour with somebody, right? If they have an agenda and they're not being understanding of somebody else and seeing where they're coming from and just feel like they're being attacked, then you put up a guard and you can't listen and you can't solve problems.
Huh. So my assertion at the beginning of the show, where I was talking about this Chinese trade company lying to me, that is certainly the wrong attitude to have.
Yeah.
It's almost like I'm looking for there to be problems. I should seek to understand in this process of partnering with this company.
Yeah. And you were very surprised when I said, I don't know if it was intentionally lying.
I was. Yeah, sincerely, I was surprised.
And you have a tally of that. And so you kind of went on, so you need to understand where she's coming from. And she may be awful to work with. You should probably run far away. I don't know. But you know what I mean? If you're understanding to what it is, then you can get to the heart of the issue quicker, and you can get to a resolution, which is what we really need.
So seek to understand. Lance, last thing, what are you working on? What's new? Where can we direct people?
Oh man, our website's great. Blacksmith INT stands for International, right? blacksmithint.com. We've got some really great stuff out there for people. Like Noah, our marketing dude, is such a stud. Just came out with with this cool piece on leaving China. My father-in-law got his hands on it and he loves it. He loves the stuff we put out. He follows us. He loves our stuff, and it's a riot to me. I love that he loves the content. So good content. We just want everybody to be successful, and we've been part of organizations out there. The Product Power Up, I know you guys have probably talked about them, and just supporting these really cool brands and good ways to be. Like we're all about just support, and we know that everybody wins. It's a good scenario for everybody.
Awesome. So blacksmithint.com/contact. They've got a little contact message here. Send them a note. There's a resource tab. You can look at their blog. There's case studies, FAQ. Go check them out. Lance, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Man, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Buy Box Experts podcast. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web, and we'll see you next time.